We're in Sefer Amud HaTfilah, in Sefer Baal Shem Tov, in Amud HaTfilah, in Ois Kuf Samach Gimel. And this is from the Toldos Yaakov Yosef. It says, Shemati Mimori, Shehik Shal Posik, Vayom HaMahem, Yivikesh Avon Yisrael Veinenu, Veschatas Yudah V'lo Yisem Tzuenu. It says, there will come a day where you're going to search for the sins of the people, and you shall not be able to find. It might have a lot to do with how we define sins. That's a side note. But that's the way the pasuk states it. There will come a day where you will search for the sins and you will not find them. And so he says, he asks the Baal Shem Tov, Lama Yavukash, why are you going to ask for the sins? Who is asking? What's the purpose of this asking? If you will ask and search for the sins, you will not find them. Why are you searching for the sins? What happened? So Lama Yavukash, it's better. It says, if he can't find it, that's perfect. Out of sight, out of mind, let's not talk about it. Bais Hiksheb, he asked another question. It says there won't be any more pain, there won't be any more suffering. And so we won't have to pray. But prayer is one of the organs of the Shekhinah, the divine presence, relies on prayer in order to communicate with this world. This is how we send back feedback so that the spirit world can direct the future events. And so he says, the time will come where we won't suffer, so we won't pray. What's going to direct the divine presence? This is a necessity that we pray. And he answered, there are 4 types of prayer. There are 4 reasons that motivate one to pray. The fact that the one who made the world is being disrespected. It's supposed to bother us. The one who designed us is being disrespected. It also means that we're being disrespected, obviously. Our design is being disrespected. Our functions are being disrespected. But it all starts from one root. The one who designed us, the one who made the world, is being disrespected. They might say they respect him, but in their behavior, in the way they interact with the creatures that he created, in the way that they observe what's happening, in the way that they interact with what's happening, in the way that they judge what's happening. All this shows disrespect for the one who actually decided that this is the way it needs to be. Now we might have understandings about why things are the way that they are and what is wrong with that. And this is part of his giving him the right respect. Part of giving him the right respect is to believe that he wouldn't design it to be like this, and his real design, if we were to listen to it, it would be different. And so this is respectful to him to recognize that the way that it is, there's something wrong with it. However, not with his design. If we think something is wrong with his design, then we're disrespecting the Creator. And so with what's happening, of course something is wrong with what's happening. People are disrespecting the Creator. Of course something is going to be wrong with what's happening. But the design of the Creator is perfect. This is part of the design, that if we disrespect it, it will disrespect us. If we disrespect each other, we will feel disrespected. And so the consequences are part of the design, but the design is perfect. And so it says this is the first reason for someone to pray, is look at what's going on. Look at someone made this, may it be whatever it might be, someone, and what he made is disrespecting him. They disrespect the fact that he made them and the way that he made them. He made them because they exist in this way, so he made them this way. And they disrespect that design. And for this, the heart should cry out. There should be prayer. Your kingdom should spread all over the globe in the way of respect, not in a way of ruling by force. Not that his power should be demonstrated and therefore we will be more afraid. No, his power should be demonstrated in a way where we want to unite with his plan. We see the beauty of what he did. We understand how perfect his intentions are, because he is the intelligence that made all. And so we return to the obvious truth, and then humanity is the one that's changing how it feels to be human. How are they changing it? Because now they believe differently. Now they believe differently, now they are differently. Now they feel differently, now they act differently. And so it's all within humanity's power to prove that the Creator was right and the design is perfect, or to go against that design and then it seems like the design is ridiculous. But no, it's not that the design is ridiculous. It's that when you are ridiculous with the design, it's ridiculous right back at you. And so that's the first. Beis rosh espal al mechilas oven. Kaver chamir memisa. He should pray to be forgiven for whatever he had wronged. Whatever mistakes and misunderstandings, he should pray to be forgiven. Why? Because to be separated from the source of life is much worse than death. Death is not necessarily bad. It all depends what happened while they were alive. Then we'll know if death is bad or death is okay, or death is fine, or maybe death is beautiful. And so it all depends on the relationship they have with the divine. Having something that is going to cause some type of a negative effect on this relationship is much worse than death. This relationship is way beyond life or death. This relationship goes for eternity. And so he says, he should pray to be forgiven for his sins, because a sin is worse than dying. Death is given as a remedy to sin. And so death is the remedy, sin is the disease. So we see that sin is worse. Because death leads to a removal of sin, and the opposite happens, that a sin could lead to many deaths and many separations and fragmentations, God forbid. So there's a good reason to pray. Please forgive me without causing me harm, without causing me suffering, or with the least amount. Get me off with the least amount so that I can get out of whatever burden I'm carrying, because I've offended life somehow, and now life is offended. It's just the nature of the spiritual that it doesn't forget. We created the spirit in a certain form, and now that exists. And so now we have to ask forgiveness, meaning that spirit somehow needs to be used for something, or made something out of, so that it can remove that negative energy from your spirit, the bigger spirit, the spirit that's carrying that whatever happened, that event inside of it. And so we should pray to be forgiven. Use your words. Words are easy. Use your words in order to try to appease whatever was offended. Because then you can save yourself a whole lot of trouble. Gimel tefillah la parnaseh. The third one is to pray for sustenance. We need, in order to survive, we need food, we need shelter, we need whatever it is that we need. And these needs are not negotiable. The body is not going to be okay without them. And so we need prayer. Again, this is the relationship between creator and creation, the relationship between the force that is giving and the force that is receiving. And so the prayer is the glue. Daled al Chaim, the fourth prayer is on life, to pray for life, to pray to receive life, to receive continued existence on this planet. And so these are the four different categories of prayer. And so these four things carry within them four parts of the Shekhinah. Each time she prays for any of these four things, different parts of her go up and reunite with the source. If he doesn't have these four things to pray for, then he has nothing to pray for. And so he wants to pray. He wants to connect creation to creator, so he searches for a sin. He wants to pray for the sin. Oh, look what happened. I offended something that you created. Please forgive me. And this will reconnect creator and creation. And so that's why he's searching for the sin. He wants to pray. He doesn't find any good reason that comes because there was an offense in the relationship. He doesn't find any offense in the relationship. There's nothing that he would ever do to offend the source of life. And he doesn't feel that the source of life did anything that offended him. The relationship has no blemish. And so he won't find Amal Ispalel from this context. It will all be simply about uniting the details of creation with creator. Yichudim is where we take the forces, the divine forces that are creating our experience, and we unite them at their source. We remember from where they emanate. We remember that they are all one. And when this happens, when these forces get united, then in the whole world it has an impact, because in the whole world these same forces are operating. And so if in one heart there's a unification of the forces, in all the other hearts, now the forces are a little bit closer to each other. There's a little bit less of a conflict between the forces, because one heart has united them. And so like that, everything that gets done is affecting the forces directly. And this is what results in the consequences when they come, that when we leave the body, we receive such outsized, disproportionate consequences to what happened here, that it would seem unfair. Down here we did little things, and over there we get so much reward or such big punishment, and because everything is so meaningful, everything is so amplified, everything is so much more real than we can imagine it here. The brain cannot imagine so real. Only when we leave the brain will we know the level of real that we're dealing with. And so the consequences are disproportionate compared to what it feels like when it's happening here. But the consequences are according to what actually took place and the effects that the things had, that we did, that we said. And so the consequences there are simply accurate to the consequences here. When we do, we don't feel the weight of the consequences here. And so when we will receive consequences there, it will seem disproportionate. But if we were to be sensitive enough to feel the consequences here, then we would see how big everything is. It has so much consequences. It leads to so many things that are going to be different now as a result of this. Everything is so unified, everything is happening in one field where everything affects everything. And so whatever it is that we do is very meaningful, is very big, it has so much weight. And so this unification that he's speaking about is something that gets done in the heart, and this helps creation become closer to creator. And so even after we won't have any suffering, we won't have any problems, we won't have anything negative that we have to pray for, that it should leave, we will still have what to pray for, because there is more good to be had. There is more unification that can be done. There is more pleasure that we can have through the realization of the one that dwells within all. And so this is going to continuously improve and enhance as we continue. This is not going to stop. מדברי פי חכם חיים. אויס קוסמך ד' מה שאמר רחמינו ז"ל בגמרא לא למסד משלוח השם מוקם וחי כחספלו. מבוא לכמה ריש פרשת ויגש. Okay, so it doesn't say it here. The other one he doesn't say here either. The next one is Kuf Samach Vov. Isse besvar magdoshim Hashem v'Hashem tov, ki be'ez shechaz v'shalom adin shoyre al odam, shadin shoyre lo yispal al odam al bit ladinin kim b'machshava, kidei shlo yichel likati chalula. So while something negative is happening, while there is a big calamity, a person should sometimes refrain from confronting this calamity directly with his speech, because it might be still a time when the negative force that is creating this calamity is still in power. And so if you take him up in speech, you might make him upset. It might result in creating some type of a target for them. And so rather he should, in thought, his intention, he should pray in general that he should remove all calamities, and with his intention, he should have the intention that he's really speaking about the calamity that's taking place right now. Because these forces are real spiritually, and we don't understand how they affect the world, how they come out into manifestation, but we can see in our own bodies the nature of thought and how it affects the physical by being translated biologically into movements, into functions. And so the same way that thought gets translated into physical activity through the body, the same way the greater thought gets translated into the physical through what we call nature, through the process that creates the different levels of life, from the inanimate to the plant to the animal to the human. All of it is being animated by this force, and the power that dwells within all is somehow dressed up within every detail, within every individual, within every cell, within every organ. And this is what animates it. This is what allows it to do its function in the world. And so, because they are alive, the organs are alive, and the world is alive. The things that are outside of us are alive. They're just alive in a different way. And yet they're alive, they're impacted, they're affected by our behaviors, they're affected by our energy. They're all alive. And so when we speak, we interact with them. And sometimes they know things, and they understand things, and they react to us, and we don't understand this language. And yet it's real, because it's the way the world is being run, the way the world was designed to be. This is the way the greater intelligence designed it all, is that the spiritual and the physical are having an interaction, they're having a dance. The thought and the matter are interacting with each other. The greater thought and the thought that we are used to, the thought that we use, that seems so simple to us. We're just thinking, but no, there's a tremendous amount of instruction that's happening with each thought. And this is being translated. And then speech, obviously, even more. That's a revelation of soul. And this revelation is announced in all the worlds, because all the worlds are here. All the worlds are observing me. They're observing everyone because they're interacting with us. They're giving me the ability to have access to them so that I can create concepts, so that I can express concepts. All this is using worlds. It's using intelligences way beyond what I can comprehend, and yet they're being used by me in order to do what I'm doing. Or I'm being used by them in order to do what I'm doing. Whichever way we might look at it. Ois Kuf Samach Zayin, ידוע בשם אדוני וזקנוי, הבעל שם טוב שאחר התפילה שעוד המספר לצורך לעזור במסף, כל ליפל חדשום לכעס על השאר דברים שאינם מגונים. So he says that when you open an emotion in prayer, you should be careful what happens to that emotion after prayer, because that emotion is still activated. So now it can get activated in something that's a negative also. So he says, for example, let's say he prayed and he felt, he felt intimidated even by what he was observing. And so it puts him in such a state of mind. So now when he leaves the prayer, he might easily get angry or startled, or he's in a certain mood. It might cause him also a negative. Let's say he felt the tremendous love, a deep desire to the source. He might feel love for something else that's not in his best interest. So in whatever attribute was activated on the holy side, once he leaves the prayer, that attribute might now be more available and get activated in the impure side as well. And so he says, what's the remedy? So after prayer means working with the emotions, don't run into the big world. The big world is not healthy for the emotions. The big world is designed to create love for things you should never love. They are very dangerous to love, and the world is working on you constantly to make you love them, whether they are things you can purchase, to own, or people that you can never have, or things and gadgets and whatever it might be that might enhance whatever. And so all this, it wants to instill the desire in you, but it's absolutely not healthy. And so a person just prayed and he's in that state of mind where he loves everything and he's so open, it might end up leading him in a way where he's loving something he doesn't really want to love. And so he should first go to learning. Use your emotions for learning. Go to the wisdom and invest that love there. Love something that gives you life. Invest your love there. Don't invest your love now in things that are useless, worthless. And the same thing for fear. If he's in a state where he can easily go to fear or go to anger or go to these types of feelings, take that towards the wisdom, and there you can find a good use for it. You can find something that you want to have that emotion for and attach it there. And don't go out into the street where they'll make you fear things that are not healthy to fear. For example, if a person is going to leave prayer in such a state, and then he's going to be busy with finances or with money. So now he's going to think in a fearful way about money, about all the different worries he has. And so there, again, he's going to be activated. So therefore, don't go out into the world directly when your emotions are activated. And this is a good lesson in general. If you're emotionally activated, don't face the big world. The big world is not a good place for you to be emotionally activated, because it's not safe. It wasn't designed to help you. It was designed to manipulate you or to use you or to take something from you. And so if you're emotionally activated, be in a safe space. Do safe things with that. Don't just allow the world to take advantage of that. These things need a deep and wide explanation, because you can't fully write out these ideas in a book. So this is from the Degel. That the Mishnah says, every Torah, every learning where there's no work is going to lead to no learning, and then there's going to be also problems. There's going to be wrongs that are going to result from this learning, because we're talking about someone who doesn't have the money to learn. And he does learning because he says, what do you mean? The world is standing on learning, so I'm going to do the important work, I'm going to learn, and let whoever bring me the money. And so whoever is not going to show up probably to bring him the money, and he's going to have to either suffer and get upset, make his family suffer, or go through different things that are not going to be pleasant for the soul. And so when there's learning and there's no way to sustain that learning, that's not really a healthy situation. And there were some that were exempt from this because they weren't anymore in a state where their choosing to learn was negotiable. They were just in a state where this is the only thing they could do. And those people usually found how to support themselves in a very moral and holy way. And so here we're talking about a person that's not in that level, and he's doing it because he thinks that this is the easiest way to get by. And so he said now a different explanation for these words. He says that Torah she'enim ha'malacha means if you're going to have a prayer that it's not going to come afterwards with some type of a place where you're going to use those emotions in a healthy way, it's going to lead to your prayer not working out, and it's going to lead to some type of a problematic behavior because your emotions are going to result in you going to places you don't want to go. Your emotions are going to stick to things you don't want them to stick to. And so once the emotion sticks to something, then you have to deal with that entity that's been created. Something has been animated. The heart now has a relationship. And so when there isn't the right landing after an emotional activation, then that could result in difficulties. The next one is from the Tolz Yakov Kirsh, and this is the last one from the Amud Tefillah. We'll have to decide what we're going to do after this. But here's the last one. A way for a person to know if his prayer has been answered. We've been learning about prayer for so long. Now we're going to learn about a sign to know if, we got it right, or maybe we missed. It says, if he feels that his heart is happy after he prayed, this is a sign that his prayer arrived at the right destination. If someone feels sad, that's the opposite sign. It says in the Gemara that one day there was a man who was samech gilui letfilah. Doesn't say his name here, and all day he was smiling. The big question is, what do you mean? This is how it says in the Siddur. Everybody says Geula and then Tefillah. You said Baruch Atah Hashem Gol Yisrael, and then you say Ale Noisvos Tiftach, and you start Shemona Esrei. And so, what was his big chiddush that day that he was Samech Geula Tefillah? He meant he never knew if he had an effect in Shemaim with what he did with his prayer. אבל ביום ששמח גאולה לתפילה ולפוסים נכריך שמע מנו שעשי יחיד למעלה לקח לי ושלמך דיו ביכוח לכם. It says that there was a day that he was שמח גאולה לתפילה, meaning he right away felt relief in his heart when he prayed, and his heart was very happy. And so then he wasn't just happy that his heart is happy, he was happy because he knew that this is a sign that he unified creator and creation, that he had a part in healing the world. And so this was the real source of his happiness, was that he assisted the world in the project called humanity, creating us. Whoever wants to help the Creator create us, he is looking for volunteers. He needs us. He needs our support. Because humans are not yet human. Humans are still too similar to animals as far as how they interact with each other, how much they are aware of themselves, how much they're aware of how they function and how they operate. In some ways, animals are much more aware of how they are than humans. Humans are a lot more confused. And so the Creator is looking for volunteers. And so this tzaddik who managed to unite the forces to realize that his prayer had an impact, this was the source of his happiness. He just couldn't stop smiling. And so may we all pray in a way that unites the worlds. And may we have that smile, the smile that doesn't go away, the smile that stays with us forever. May it happen now.